Well, g'day flatties and globe defenders, it's Critical Thing from Down Under. Recently I put out a video with a shadow shining underneath on a surface above me. And Gary Wabenga has come to make some comments. Good on you, Gary. Thanks for visiting the channel. If you didn't visit, well, I wouldn't really have a lot to talk about now, but I do because thanks to your particularly incredibly lame comments, there's a few things there that you've got wrong that I really must point out. So let's launch into some of the comments and I'll give some more evidence in relation to what you said, Gary. So here's a quick recap of the observation. Now you can see that it is obviously very close to sunset. You can tell this by the angle of the sun, the colour of the sky, and if you look very carefully you'll see that there's a horizon there. Now there's a little bit of a mountain range there, but the sun is almost ready to go down. And as we pan across, you can also clearly see that the sun is close to the horizon. And there's the truck Gary talks about, and I'll show you that in a minute. There's the shadow on the underneath side of the water tower there. And then there'll be, we'll just for interest's sake, we'll go and have a look at the moon, and Gary will have something to say about that as well. So that'll do for that. This is the shadow, a close-up of the shadow on the surface underneath the water tower. There's no mistaking that, Gary. Although we know that you do deny that it is a shadow underneath, but yes, really there's no mistaking that. You can see this microwave dish here, and there's the shadow. I'll just trace it around there, and look, there's a little bit of top of the dish there, and the rest of it is the shadow underneath, and that's pretty clear. And just to show that the bottom of the water tower is not on a slant, I mean, I think it is at a slight slant by 1 or 2 degrees, but it's pretty close to being horizontal. Not quite perfect, but it's very, very close, and on a flat earth the sun can't go that low. The shadows don't lie, remember, as P-Brain has mentioned. So here's what Gary has to say about that observation. Even the angle of the lit part of the moon matches what I'm saying and how the shadow is. If the sun was lighting underneath, then more of the under part of the moon should be lit. So Gary is thinking that the moon should be lit differently, and the lighting on the moon seems to suggest that the sun is in a different part. Go back and look. The moon would be angled up to the sun. Of course the sun would look lower, but only because of perspective. The sun is actually higher than the moon and correctly lit up from an angle down to the moon, which is also why the shadows in the tower are below what is casting them. So Gary's conjecture here is that the sun is actually higher than the moon. Well, what he doesn't really know is that the sun and the moon are just in space. There's not really one higher than the other. It's just the angles that are in relation to where we are. But we'll just ignore that for now. And so he's saying that the shadows say that the sun would be at a higher angle. We'll examine that in a little while. You're not only upside down, you're backwards. If the sun was below the object, the shadow would be cast up, not down. Well, that's what we showed there, Gary. Didn't you see that? I'm sitting on my front porch right now. Sun is to my left and above me, and my shadow is to my right and below me, just like every shadow on that water tower is, as well as the shadow on the hose of the truck. and the sun was lighting up the top portion of the moon, which means it had to be above. Okay, Gary, so you don't understand how the sun lighting up the moon works. I understand that. And we'll look at the truck shortly. And, well, the shadow is cast up. That's why it's on the underneath of the water tower. Of course the shadow would match if I held up a ball. That's because the sun is above them both. The sun only looks lower because, like everything else that is closer to the horizon, it just appears lower in the sky, but isn't actually. Which is why the correct portion of the moon is always lit when you account for perspective. So I love this. I love this, that the sun only appears to be in a certain place because of perspective. And the flat earthers are saying that we don't understand perspective. But this is, you're going to see something here which is going to show that Gary doesn't understand perspective. I'll carry on with what Gary says. It's also why the shadows on the tower and on the truck are angled down, because the sun is above, not below. Shadows tell the truth when you interpret them correctly. Of course you say it's an illusion. It's not an illusion when you understand perspectives in workings of your sight. So take particular note of this. Gary agrees that shadows tell the truth when you interpret them correctly, and Gary agrees that it's not an illusion when you understand perspective. And yes, I will say that what Gary's saying about the angle of the sun is an illusion to Gary, and I can prove it, and I will prove it. I hate to inform you, but that lip was not lit up underneath. Are you kidding me? Everybody else that looked at it can see that it was lit up underneath. Just look at the contrast in the colour of the tower above and below it. Yes, we can see that there is a different contrast, but that's because it's an entirely different surface. One is horizontal, the other is vertical. Of course they're going to be lit differently. And of course, the reason the shadow that's below it is because the sun was above it. Huh? I don't get this one. Are you really that stupid? Are you suffering from Dunning-Kruger? No, I'm not suffering from Dunning-Kruger, Gary, but I really do understand who is. The underneath of that lip was not lit, and your shadow was the wrong direction if the sun was beneath. And it was not just one shadow. There's a pipe from the top of the tank with a shadow angled down. There's a hose on the truck with a shadow angled down. There's the moon which was lit up from an angle coming down from above. Talk about Dunning-Kruger. I don't even have to mention the mountain shadows which work perfectly on flat Earth. I'm starting to think all you global brains are literally scrambled. Yeah, right, Gary. You're going to love what comes in a little while. You're getting the idea now. Okay, Gary. Yes, of course we don't understand. But look at this, Gary. You're saying that that's not lit up from below. That's crazy talk, Gary. That's really crazy talk. Now let's have a look at this. So if you, as you say, that the sun is angled up, you see where the shadow would be angled there with that, Gary? But you see, the green line is more like the angle of the sun. You know, it's got to be over there in that angle for it to cast the shadow that you can see right there. There's no other explanation. The shadows don't lie, remember? P-Brain says the shadows don't lie. And you say the shadows tell the story too. Now, here's what you're complaining about. I can see what you're complaining about on this truck, because you think that this pipe shadow here is below this pipe here. And again, Gary, you say we don't understand perspective and illusion. Well, that's an illusion, Gary. It's caused by the fact that the pipe is away from the truck and not right next to it. So the illusion is there that this shadow is in fact below. But You saw in the video where the sun was. There's no mistaking that the sun was near the horizon. And let's just have a look at some of the other shadows in this picture. Now, the bottom part of the hose, you can see that the bottom part of the hose is there. And look at where the bottom part of that shadow is. And look, if you draw a line between them, oh my goodness me, look at the angle where the sun is. It's over there to the left, not above. And yes, this does look a bit weird, this shadow on this pipe up here, but that again is an illusion because the pipe has a slant in it. So if you want to see a little bit more about the shadows here, have a look at this shadow here of this edge of this box on the side of the truck. See, that's a little bit more level, isn't it? A little bit more. The sun can't be above because it would not cast that shadow. And the shadow on this reel here, look at the shadow on the side of the truck, that reel there. And there's a little bit of a shadow up here of this thing, whatever it is, on the top. And the shadow's over there. What you're looking at is an illusion with that pipe. You're telling us we don't understand. Yes, it's an illusion and you don't understand the perspective. And there's another picture of the truck. And you can see the little slope on this pipe a little bit better. Now here's another picture of the truck I took on another day. Now the pipe's in a slightly different place. On the other picture, the pipe was on top of this bar here and a little bit further away from the truck. And this one is taken with the sun at the angle that you think it might be. So compare the position of the pipe there, the position of the pipe there. You can see, and there's this angle down, and in this case the pipe goes around there. So here is my video of where the sun is. It's pretty high in the sky, about there, and you cannot, because you cannot see the shadow on the truck, that's not much good. But let's look up here at the shadow there. Look at that shadow. Isn't that one? Look at where that shadow is. Now, if the sun was angled like you say it was, that's where you would see the shadow. Like that. You see that, Gary? It wouldn't be shining on underneath. It can't, because it's up in the sky. Quite a few degrees up in the sky. That's what you'd see if the sun was in that angle. But no, this is what you see. And I also noticed that you complain about this pipe here, and the shadow is below the pipe. And to you, this proves to you that the sun is at an upper angle. But again, Gary, this is an illusion caused by perspective. And you don't understand perspective, Gary. That shadow is not caused by a sun, and I'm going to prove this, higher in the sky. Can you see the distance between that pipe and the side of wall of the tank? There's a distance there. That's going to give you a perspective that makes it appear like that. It's not really like that. And this moon. Yes, it's pretty hard to understand the angles of the sun and the moon. A lot of flat earthers have a lot of trouble with this. But once you understand that the sun is very far away, and it's the angle that you're viewing the moon at that counts a lot. Not just because the sun is down at an angle to us doesn't mean that the moon has to be lit like you think it should. So we're going to look at something now. So I've got here a tennis ball which looks a bit like the moon, if you can use your imagination, and there's a shadow there on the moon. So according to Gary, because I can't see the whole of the shadow there, the light source must be up near the ceiling somewhere, maybe even right on. But according to Gary's optical illusion, the light source for this ball must be up there. So where is the light source for this ball, Gary? And let's play this and take a look. So there's the ball, the shadow. I'll go over there, down. Oh, we're going down to the floor. Oh, look, the light source is below me. Look at that. And the shadow is showing. It doesn't even look like it's below, but it is. Isn't that amazing? Who doesn't understand perspective, and who doesn't understand what's an illusion and what's not? And look at this. When you get to the right angle, you can see, if you get to the same angle, you can see where it's lit from. So that's making you look pretty silly already, isn't it, Gary? But there's more to come. Now, see this? The pipe hanging down from the tank. You remember that? I've simulated this with a bit of a square. And look, there's the shadow. And look, the shadow is below the pipe, you know, just like on the tank. And so now, Gary, where is the light source? Well, it has to be above, doesn't it? According to you, because it's just like the pipe on the tank, it has to be above. So let's take a look at that one now. And let's go to the left and look. But first, oh, look where the light source is, you know. It's not above. It's, in fact, just slightly below. That's just an illusion, Gary, caused by perspective. You don't understand perspective, and here it is. Look at the angle of that. And you're saying that the angle has to be above because of that shadow. God, that's a bit of a non thing to say, isn't it? You're looking a bit silly now, aren't you, Gary? So there's the pipe. Looks pretty much like that, doesn't it? But we know that this one, the light source, is almost level. That one is very much the same. So we're back to the beginning. That's it, Gary. That's it. You don't understand geometry, you don't understand angles, you don't understand how things can be lit. I've given some practical demonstrations. So you cannot deny that this shadow is lit on the bottom of the surface above, and you cannot deny that the sun must be at a place that is impossible for it to be on a flat earth. Thanks very much, everybody. Please like and subscribe.